For this video, I will be showing you all how my family makes mole when we don't have access to the regular traditional mole that would be available in my dad's hometown. For this recipe, I will be using chicken breast, chicken broth, water, chicken seasoning powder, a blender, pots and pans, and these utensils. From here, I will be cutting the chicken breast into preferred sizes. In my case, I will just be cutting this chicken breast into 4 pieces. Then I will be moving on to add water onto the pan. I will set that pan to boil, and I will add the chicken so that the chicken can cook, and I will move on to wash my hands before going to the blender because you are working with raw chicken and you don't want to get yourself or others sick. From here, I had my mom open the mole can because it's quite difficult, and even when she did it, we got a bit messy, but it's okay. From there, I added the chicken broth into the blender. I add some water to top it off to the 2 cups total, and then I added some chicken powder seasoning and followed up by adding the mole, which is the brand Doña Maria, which is the one that I find at my local store, Target. This is actually owned by Hornell Foods, which has 4 other types of mole, which are pipián, mole verde, and mole adobo. The ingredients they use for their recipe of the regular mole that I'm using is soybean oil, crackers, chili pepper, sesame seeds, sugar, peanuts, iodized salt, and caramel coloring. So I will blend these ingredients together until they are blended well. Then I will check up on the chicken. I see that it's done, and I will take it out and move on to work with the mole sauce. So when working with mole, you want to consistently stir the mole or else it can clump up, and you want to make sure that you stop once it is the right consistency, which is your preferred thickness. Once you get it to your preferred thickness, you will be adding the chicken in, and you lower the flame and just leave it there to simmer. So as mentioned before, there are different types of mole, which kind of made me think of Madelon's work that she discusses in As American as a Jackrabbit Adobo, where she talks about how the authenticity of food changes over time due to the introduction of spices, meats, vegetables, and more, and because of the need to adapt that food because there's a lack of access to traditional ingredients due to migration or other reasons. This can be seen with mole since it's such an inconsistent food even within communities in Mexico. It is said that it comes from a convent in Puebla, Santa Rosa, in the 17th century. It's said that a nun put spices together and ended up with the brown sauce. Spain later introduced spices which altered this recipe even more. Today, it's typically served with chicken and paired with rice, beans, and tortillas, especially in U.S. Mexican restaurants. Which made me think of Torres and Burriel's work, Feasting on Latino Labor in Multicultural Los Angeles. They talk about how foods adapt to the American palate, which makes me think of how this recipe is actually quite simple in comparison to the one that we would traditionally consume. So it's altered so that it is presented in a way in which American consumers feel though it is familiar, and it's also usually paired with other types of meats depending on where you're from. Some have it with duck and pork, but seeing here how it's normalized to eat chicken, that is what it's usually sold with at a Mexican restaurant. This truly shows how mole is a global foodway that has been impacted by exchanges and interactions throughout the world and what is available at that time when preparing mole, as there is such a range in what mole can be. It all depends on the region and the person preparing it, what they prefer, and as well what is available. So as you can see now, the chicken is incorporated with the mole, and I will be turning the flame down so it is left to simmer on its own for a while. Then it is ready to serve, and in my case, I will be pairing it with some rice that has some vegetables incorporated with it, and you are ready to consume it.